KingofPodcasts.com proudly presents the Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Brought to you by KingofAmazon.com. KOP is all about Amazon, and so should you. Go to King of Podcasts' special link at KingofAmazon.com. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode 557 of the Wrestling is Real podcast here at WrestlingIsReal.com. King of Podcasts here with you. Before we get started, I want to just go ahead and give a note and best wishes for a speedy recovery for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, his wife Lauren, and his two kids, who unfortunately they have contracted the coronavirus. And hopefully, Rock and his wife, mentioning that they did have a bit of a bout dealing with the flu-like symptoms, but it looks like they're working their way to recovery, and we hope for the best for both of them. Wanted to go and get on the top of the show to go ahead and talk about that. So a few things going on right now that people are really interested in. Number one is because of the pandemic, again, makes changes. Now, these changes that are coming up right now might not have actually been thought about if not for the pandemic, and that is because of the sports. The NBA and the NHL in particular, because they both decided to go ahead and have their seasons contracted so they can go ahead and get the 2019-2020 season completed. With that said, they're doing that right now, and both AEW, Wednesday Night Dynamite, and NXT on USA Network have both been compromised with all of that. So that's what we got right now. What are you going to do, right? So, with that said, Wednesday Night Wars have been not so much Wednesday Night Wars for the last few weeks. And how have the ratings gone for both of those shows? Well, let's talk about it, because we have seen some good numbers as a result for both shows running unopposed. Now, when it comes to for AEW, the one thing for them was they actually had 1 week where they thought they were unopposed, but they weren't. But nevertheless, they still did pretty well. So here's what we got so far. If you're looking back at the end of August, the last ratings that we have, the last head-to-head competition for both shows was 792,000 for AEW Dynamite, and this was on the week of August 10th through 14th, so August 12th, and 619,000 for NXT. There you go. Now, what's happened is there's obviously some fans starting to come back to certain shows. We're seeing a little bit of a return for people watching Raw and SmackDown, which is good, because now Raw is consistently getting over 2 million viewers. SmackDown's getting over 2 million viewers. Raw near the mark, but of course that wasn't going to stay for long based on what they're doing. With Roman Reigns back on top and now new champion with Paul Heyman at his side, that's going to make a difference. You're going to have that. People are going to watch that. And then seeing Bray Wyatt turn face, it's interesting to people. Now, I think there's a few things they're doing more on SmackDown, obviously, to try to draw out attention. Now, it's not doing so much when it comes to Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, the Rey Mysterio stuff with Dominic and Seth Rollins, among other things that they're working on over there. And the Retribution angle, which has not been any ratings factor whatsoever. They should just go ahead and let that go and just basically just do a squash of the whole group altogether, because it's not doing any good for anybody. As a matter of fact, Retribution angles are not even being aired on the Hulu versions of Raw and SmackDown. That tells you how unimportant they are. We haven't moved the bar at all with that gimmick, so why even have it? I think people would just be happy if it just disappeared, much like the hacker. Let it disappear. It's a horrible gimmick. It's not any good. Let them all get arrested and be done with it. Like, really, just done and over with. It really is such a non-factor. It doesn't matter. You're just breaking stuff for nothing. And that's all I'm going to say about Retribution. Now, back to the ratings. So the Wednesday Night Wars, here's what's happened since. They've had 2 weeks where both shows have been unopposed. As a result, AEW had a show on August the 17th, I think this is. They had a Saturday night show. It pulled 755,000 viewers, and that was up against NXT TakeOver. Not to mention, the show was supposed to run around 6:15 Eastern time, but it didn't run until 25, 30 minutes later. So even with the instability of the time because they had to wait till after the NBA playoffs because that's where they're being preempted for. They were delayed by it. They still pulled off a pretty good rating for what it was worth. And then the Thursday night broadcast, which was unopposed, got 813,000 viewers, which was the best they'd had since the start of the month, when they did pull 900,000 viewers on the week of August 3rd to August 7th. So again, they're pulling numbers that were significantly a little bit better. Again, this is not a representation because we know that these numbers could definitely stay the same if both shows were head-to-head once again. And they could be. But AEW is not looking to move their show. They're looking to stay on Wednesday nights, period. I don't see them moving to a different night. The factor is NXT as to whether they would want to have moved to a different night or not. Because for NXT, it has worked greatly. For a show that has been pulling between 630,000 or 600,000 and 750,000, maybe up to 800,000 at its highest. Well, it's pulling up good numbers now because they did pull it at the NXT TakeOver type show for a couple of weeks, and that's how they pulled out nearly 800,000 for a few weeks going around the 4th of July weekend. Well, since they've been unopposed on Wednesday nights, because that show, actually, it was unopposed on Wednesday night, and then it was unopposed on Tuesday night. They might have had an Impact Wrestling, but not a factor, of course. So 2 weeks ago, 824,000 viewers. This week, did we already get the Tuesday night NXT numbers? I have 853,000 for this past week. And for this week of NXT, it did go up. They pulled 849,000 viewers and they were up in total viewers and the 18 to 49 demographic. So they were a little bit off on total viewers from the week before, but they ran on a Tuesday. The show is ranked number 10 among the top 150 shows on cable and pulled a better rating among adults 18 to 49, which is good for them. And we also know that NXT will also be running unopposed next week because they have to run their show on Tuesday night. And then if I'm correct, AEW has one more week of running on Thursday night. So again, it's interesting how everything's just kind of getting pushed around. But again, the moving around shows the stability of both shows. So to have them go head to head, which was the idea of NXT in the first place, the idea is that they're going to do better ratings some other time. Now, for those AEW fans out there, they're going to say to themselves, we won the Wednesday Night War because NXT will be the one in the history books that will have moved. Because Wednesday night will have been AEW's night, the plan for Wednesday night, and then NXT decided to move out of the slot because, for business purposes, NXT would do better on Tuesday night, unopposed. And I would think Impact Wrestling would not want to run on Tuesday night. They would move to Thursday night. That's how I was thinking. And I think that wouldn't be a problem for Anthem to let them do that and move on Access to Thursday night in the first place. It's not like they're set. But Impact Wrestling for Access TV is their best performing show. Do we like that idea of having shows every night once again? So Raw, NXT, AEW, Impact Wrestling, and SmackDown. Do we like 5 days a week of wrestling? I guess that's fine. It doesn't hurt me too much. I have not been too much with NXT because it is a little bit saturated with the same group. And, I felt like the show's been getting very formulaic. I also didn't like the fact that when I went in for the Iron Man match for Tuesday night's episode, a non-finish was not a good look. That's not NXT style. It's a very, very main roster booked scenario. But again, they're trying to go ahead and create a cliffhanger for the following week. That's not good. And I don't feel like I feel like there's a regression on the talent because the way they're being booked and the gimmicks that are being offered. I mean, aside from Karrion Kross, I say Rhea Ripley, I don't know if I feel the same about Damian Priest. I don't feel the same about Gargano and Ciampa. They have what they have, but I feel like they feel good together as opposed to being apart. Adam Cole's had a very long run there. He's obviously stood out. The Pat McAfee thing's still going to linger around, so that's what it is going to be. And I don't know. I would prefer that all the wrestling shows have their own night and not worry about head-to-head. I never cared for it in the first place. I mean, I will say that for the first 8 weeks, I did second screen NXT and watch AEW. Doesn't make me an AEW super fan. I'm not. My thing is, and I have said this from the beginning, is that I like the change. I like fresh, different competition as opposed to WWE every week. But the point is, I don't talk about AEW a whole lot because, they're still working themselves off, and I don't make it a point just to go and talk about it because I know that people like to talk about the WWE. I've done the research. I talked about other shows. I tried to go ahead and focus a little more on other promotions. And always what happens is this audience of mine, my listenership, they like tuning in when I talk about shows when they're actually happening. So WWE is always a pretty safe bet. I could talk about this on a regular basis and people will be into it. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but then if I talk about AEW, it will be usually when the lead up to a pay-per-view is coming up or the pay-per-view is here. So when I talk about Ring of Honor, people will catch for that. If I'm talking about Impact, actually I do really well with the ratings for that because if we do an Impact pay-per-view, number one, that I am, I'm supportive. I am not an Impact Wrestling fan that is caught up in the old days of TNA and how it soured on me, because I'm the kind of guy. I'm a wrestling fan of the sort where I can appreciate a good train wreck like I can appreciate a good show. And I remember I used to watch a lot of rough WCW back in the day. I watched those rough days of Nitro and Thunder religiously. Even when they weren't that great, I still watched it because I was still behind the product. I just thought it was good to see a difference because I know what WWE gives me. But again, it's always, for me, fostering competition is good. We're coming up on 2 years now that AEW has been in existence. And I'll tell you what, I've actually enjoyed having AEW here. It's been good. I don't know about everybody else, but I don't feel any indifference towards it. I've enjoyed what I've had. Well, we're coming up with a full year, of AEW Dynamite. It's coming up now. The 1st of October. So we're coming up on it, and I like it. And for me, I don't have any indifference at all to seeing AEW doing what it's doing. It's been pretty consistent in the ratings, as a matter of fact. I think they've been actually doing all right. They've had a couple of times where the ratings have had a little bit of drop-off, but it's been more or less consistent. They did have a drop-off when it came to the pandemic. Everybody else did, but they've recovered pretty well. Again, a show that's been pulling 750,000 pretty consistently against the head-to-head. I mean, they were pulling that, but then also when you had some big matches going up against NXT, when NXT is pulling up takeover-style matches, like an Iron Man match, which if they went up against the Iron Man match head-to-head Wednesday night and had that all-out go-home show like they did tonight, I don't think it would have done well at all. I think the go-home show would have done well. It could have probably narrowed 800,000, but I don't think it would have beaten NXT. But NXT has to pull out all the stops to pull a rating like an 800,000 viewer mark, unless they're unopposed. Because what if they just ran a show that just had a lot of, say you put Cameron Grimes in a featured match, Velveteen Dream, Damian Priest, a lot of these mid-carders that are not necessarily super echelon Imperium, like you just see, they're just there. It's like they're part of the show, but I don't feel like some of the NXT stars stand out more than the others. Plus, I feel like some of the stars don't have any real individuality between them. I feel like there's just a little bit of, okay, here's your gimmick, here's your catchphrase, here's your name, go. And that's it. And I feel it's because in the NXT realm, the Performance Center, I think they're starting to learn. They don't want to start making too many changes and create such a styled and polished gimmick for a star that's only going to get watered down once they go to the main roster. I think that's what's happening now. I feel like that's what's happening now. You tell me if I'm wrong. But Ricochet, Aleister Black, Street Profits, Viking Raiders all had some pretty significant badass entrances and pretty well established move sets and things like that, and they've been improperly used. So again, it's not against NXT, but I guess NXT probably needs to start making a little more generic versions of their stars, because then you got to ask the question. If a Velveteen Dream with the gimmick we've seen for all this time, will that be brought up to the main roster? Well, number one, he's already hurt himself because of the comments he's made and the actions he's done. So there. Who knows if he'll make it up there? He's probably going to be kept demoted to NXT for a while. Brian will never get a push. So for Velvet Dream, I don't know what his future is there. Obviously, some fans do not want to see him there. I have no bones one way or the other. I don't think he's worth being there. You know, I just think cancers need to be carved out. So with that said, NXT and their roster, you know, Undisputed Era, it's really just a takeoff of the Ring of Honor personas. What's different than what Adam Cole was in Ring of Honor? The Bebe was there. His moveset was here. Like, it really just transferred over. That's it. And that's all there's been. Gargano being changed into a heel, yeah, that somewhat was an interesting story. Ciampa has been elevated. He's been polished here in NXT. But again, his injuries have hurt him significantly. Keith Lee, they wanted him down already. Now, they have given him a couple of wins, and they're letting him work his way up, which is good. But, again, they had to think with the music because they didn't want to pay for it. And whatever they're writing for him now, his scripted promos suck. Him not doing it off the cuff is going to be a detriment. And that's going to hurt him in the long run. And, of course, it's somebody that's been brought into the mix. But, again, Keith Lee's been around for a while in wrestling in general. But, of course, it's only been how long you've been in the Performance Center, kid. That's how they all interact. And that's where they are. So they're hurting right there. The NXT is feeling generic to me now. That's not good. And honestly, I don't know how many more times I can watch an Iron Man match or a ladder match or a tables match where I've had Adam Cole and Ciampa and Gargano. And I'm like, I've seen them go. What was the NXT takeover we had? Was it, I forget which one. But we had like ridiculous matches, right? The most over-the-top takeover matches that went over, right? And I'm just saying to myself, they've done some matches where they've been over the, you know, like the War Games match. That's where we go. This last year's War Games match was ridiculous. Not saying it wasn't good, but it was ridiculous. It was like so over the top, so damaging to these people. And then you put this Iron Man match, a 60-minute match, to a non-finish. What good is that? So you're without an NXT champion this week. These are the mistakes that NXT is making right now. And it's the worst time when they had a big audience for them. They had a very good audience. Okay? You had the match. You had the pinfalls. So they're already in a bad place because Karrion Kross won the title NXT TakeOver 30, and then he had to drop it for injury. And then you have this Iron Man match, and you can't even give us a finish. So fans will have to wait until next week to find out who will be the new champion because no champion was crowned. So Balor and Cole scored 2 pinfalls in the match. So the match became a tie. So now Balor and Cole will move on to face each other next week. Sudden death, they're calling it. That's not good. And the fact that we're getting Finn Balor, Adam Cole, do we want to see a continuation of this match after 60 minutes? I mean, some people do. But again, it's a very tried and true fan base that's watching this show. And I think with NXT, you get the audience you get. You're not going to build up to 1 million viewers. I don't see it happening right now. They don't have the star. Again, it's star power that is lacking on this show. So they have a threshold. The threshold for them, even with a takeover style match, if you look at the ratings, you know, in this past year, they're pulling they pulled the best 3 numbers for the last 3 weeks over only because AEW was not on the same night. Period. Even counting this week. AEW was unopposed. 3 weeks unopposed. They pulled 800,000 viewers. Averaging 850,000 viewers the last 2 weeks. Good for them. But again, what good is that? That's their threshold. That's what they're going to be stuck with. If USA is happy to get that audience on a Tuesday night, good for them. Take it. So NXT will then move to the night. And the thing is, did you really need to... here's the other question. After they moved the show to Tuesday nights, what you got to ask yourself now, besides the broadcast money that they got, the real question is, Did NXT miss a lot by being removed from the network? Because remember, yeah, they might have gotten $40 million now to get NXT on USA Network, of which they have to perform, they have to pull the numbers. I guess for NXT, you got to ask yourself, was it worth it moving it from the network down to terrestrial, to cable? Was that a good idea? I don't know. I don't think it was. I think they could have made as much money with subscriptions because they would have held on to all that money and not had to spend so much if they would have just kept the show on USA or on the network, on WWE Network. I don't know, but I don't like what happened here. I think the head-to-head was never necessary. Never thought they needed to do it. Like, I get it, everybody was kind of into it, but again, this is the smaller feud. Now, the other question. Okay, so what NXT accomplished by moving to the cable network, to USA? So that particular money deal, that monetary deal, that broadcast deal, that helps. Did it do anything to hurt Dynamite and to hurt AEW's ratings for getting any higher? That's the question everyone wants to ask. Well, I want to go and point that out and ask that same question because I was wondering the same thing. Did it really do anything? When I look at the ratings going back for Dynamite, as it ran through, they never got a chance to have a show unopposed from the start. NXT took the jump 2 weeks ahead to get their show on. And that show pulled over 1 million viewers for those first 2 unopposed weeks. And as for Dynamite, big audience for the start, down to 100,000. And then they started getting into the level where it was a very wobbly audience. As we know, that audience really did, it was maneuvering, was not really consistent in 2019. Because remember, that show went from 960 to 750,000 viewers to 800,000 to 950,000 to 900,000 to 600 to 850 to 780 to 680. It just was all over the place. Average last year, 898,000 viewers. But again, that would have changed as well because of the fact that that show was going to get a big change, right? We already knew that when it came to AEW, they're not going to be able to get the advantage of those viewers like they did last time, right? So the question is you got to ask yourself, the average now at the moment of 2020, they're averaging just under 800,000 viewers. If not for the pandemic, probably would have been over that. So, but again, compared to the ratings last year, a bit of a drop off, but not too much. Like, they're still holding on. And then we don't also know what their delayed viewing audience is. The DVR plus 3 plus 7. We don't know what that is. But we do know that they get over 1 million viewers anyway with that show after the fact. And we know they get some engagement on their YouTube channel and through their social media as well. So they're getting some of that. They haven't moved the AEW Dark show, and they have not been able to start the second show yet. So again, for AEW right now and their deal with TNT, the one thing that's got to be concerning is still the fact that Kevin Riley's no longer there. So again, it's behooving on the company to make sure that their ratings stay solid. So they're staying solid, and they have a pretty dedicated audience right now staying with this product throughout. So month of August has done it well. They did get 900,000 viewers a few weeks ago, 800,000 the other week before, and then they got moved around. So again, their ratings in 2020, same thing. Couple of bad shows where they just didn't perform that well, but again, that was the pandemic or other things that also caused it. Now, for Wednesday night, for the sake of Wednesday night and the Wars, did it increase the audience at all? Well, it's looking like that. For 2019, you could say that at the highest end, NXT and AEW in 2019, they brought in roughly 1.7 million viewers. Right now in 2020, they're pulling them together, well, about 1.4 million viewers. Not actually 1.5. they got both a good jolt in the beginning because they were new and fresh to their time slots. Other than that, they have steadied their course. With, I think, NXT being the most volatile of both shows, is based on their booking. That's what NXT is. With AEW, it doesn't matter how much they book their show. They book their shows pretty solid every card. But again, there's just some nights where Wednesday night's just going to be a little bit tougher than other nights. But for the most part, they haven't pulled a whole lot of really bad numbers. Now, if I look at where things have kind of like picked back up, say since July, the last 2 months, they've been consistent. They did get over 900,000 one time, but they never got below 700,000. And that's like kind of their in-between. That's what they're stuck with. When it comes to NXT, they've been between 615 to 850,000. And again, more of a wiggle room. But again, more than anything else, it's a matter of what audience they're bringing in. Because AEW, as we know, have been bringing in a younger audience. That's what the demo god that Chris Jericho talks about. AEW consistently has had better 18 to 49 ratings, which is the target demographic of advertisers. They want to be able to get that audience. Getting an audience that's 50 years older tells you when it's a bulk 50 plus audience that wins that time slot every week for NXT, it tells you it's the die-hard Attitude Era fans that have stuck around, plus the fans of Rock and Wrestling Era that have stuck around this brand, and they are tried and true loyal to the brand. And that's it. They're like Yankee fans. They're like Patriots fans. It doesn't matter good or bad, they're watching. They're watching wrestling, and they're watching that brand. It's like, you buy Levi's, you want to buy Levi's and wear them. Even though they might be the most popular brand, you know what they are. You know what their value is. You know they fit pretty good. You like them. You're comfortable with them. You wear them. That's it. That's what they are. It's an established wrestling brand. AEW is still working on that. But for AEW, I don't think it makes a difference if NXT goes away. I don't know if Dynamite pulls a bigger audience as a result. Will NXT viewers or AEW viewers, when they split up, when they go unopposed after all, we're already seeing, will it make a difference? Now, we'd have to see what would happen if NXT did move to Tuesday nights. And if they did, would they be able to go ahead and find a place for them and that audience? With the AEW audience that might watch on Dynamite, would they flip over to NXT then? That's what you got to ask. UFC Network already has been accustomed before to having ECW and the original NXT on Tuesday night. So putting it right there, it's a comfortable spot. And other than that, I think people watching NXT, I just don't know how much of an audience wants to go over and watch. I guess you'll get some, but again, it's going to be a saturation of 5 nights of wrestling. And that's also, the other thing you have to ask is that we also had Tuesday nights where NWA was also there, but now we don't have that. And we don't know when NXT is coming back, or NWA is coming back. We know that Ring of Honor is coming back, and I believe their shows are going to start showing up in October, but they're taping it now. So we're going to get new Ring of Honor episodes coming up. That's great news. MLW is already teasing a return, so we're waiting for that. Where will those shows lie in the mix? Because if NXT is going to be airing on Tuesday night, where are they going to be showing up on the digital side? That's the question. When NWA Power and MLW Fusion, where are they going to land when it's all said and done? And then for NXT fans, are they going to go and watch the AEW? Yes. I don't know if it goes the other way around, but I think we'll have some curious NXT fans that will watch AEW. So you might get a blip of an audience over there. So that's about it, a blip. But the biggest problem is, overall, there's not one wrestling promotion that is really threading the needle and really pushing a fan base in and getting involved. And the truth is, you got to ask yourself, what is there out there that is pulling in ratings? Like, I don't know. But have you asked about that? So at the moment, MTV, which is usually a show that would be drawing a significant crowd, right? You think it would be up for previous years, and the idea is that, that's a young person's audience. Like the MTV audience for the VMAs should be a similar aged audience for wrestling. Maybe you could get some of those wrestling fans over to that. Like we've seen a little bit of trying to cross over. I mean, we know that when TNT was actually doing a little promotion for Rick and Morty for the return of season 4 of that program, they did try to do something to get that program to get some of their audience over to watch wrestling and the other way around. So a little bit of in-cross promotion with the brands. So the question is, the VMAs this year, MTV Video Music Awards, 6.4 million viewers. Still down 5% from last year. But again, that's the highest you're getting. And that is combined across the board. And that's where they are, all together to getting that. But of course, we know that people will be watching the show after the fact in delay. But again, a show like that, that's really like the pinnacle of what you want to try to get. Could you pull 6 million viewers for a live broadcast? Any wrestling show? That used to be the norm, but not now. To get 2.1 million viewers, really, what are you going to get from cable that's going to get more of an audience? And then what's out there that's pulling a big enough audience in general that's going to get the interest? Like right now, even NBA is hurting in ratings. They're dropped 25%. And some of their programming is not even pulling 2 million viewers for some of their games. And this is NBA playoffs we're talking about. Could also be the time of year, sure. There's things like that. But wrestling as a whole, where is the ratings coming from? Where are they pulling new viewers from? This is dependent upon what the companies need to be doing themselves to draw younger viewers. Now, the thing is, we are seeing a lot of audience right now that is catching up on the ratings of the overall. When you look at network TV overall, football is able to pull out 5 to 8 million viewers any given time. When it comes to regular television, network TV, 4.1 million viewers for The Masked Singer for 18 to 49. And as for the show itself, it might pull, I guess, like 6, 7 million viewers total. That's the best you get on network TV. And then for cable, it depends on what you're watching for what's out there. There's just not much. And everybody's hurting right now. I mean, cable news, we know, pulls a lot of viewers. But again, with the draw that WWE and AEW have themselves to try to get people off the ground and watch, I mean, the real problem is that you just got to ask yourself, what are they going to try to do to really pull things out? There's not much. So what are you going to do about that? They're in a tough spot to try to keep people watching. But again, it's not as if you can't put anything on television to really pull viewers in. Of course, we're going to have a regression of ratings anyway because of how the digital disruption, which I talk about on my Broadcasters podcast on a regular basis. We knew that was going to make a change. But look where we are now. Ratings, when people look at it, they don't really do much of a difference at all. So what are we going to do here? Right? I mean, the question is going to be, where do we get things changed out? Like, where do we have the new audience come from? And I talked about this a few weeks ago, where I talked about how you need to have some of the influencers find a way to get the people that the WWE superstars need to be able to go and pull fans up and really bring them off and over the ground. Because the truth is, they have it. I mean, you look at Sasha Banks, she's got a great audience, but she's not the kind of person right now that feels like she needs to go and over-promote herself. She's promoting her own products, her own things. When you look at the AEW stars with the most Instagram followers, nobody really has that much. Cody has the highest right now at 721,000 followers. That's it. Chris Jericho the highest with 3.8 million. But again, there's only so much he's able to go and do to get the audience watching. And on the female side, there's just not much. When you look, you got a lot under 100,000. The highest end of the spectrum is Brady Rhodes with 850,000 followers. Allin is second with 228,000. There's just not much there at all. So the influence on social media, I still say, is where you could kind of move things up. And certain stars are not able to go ahead, again, if they're not really like loyal and eager to go ahead and promote their business, then sure, they're not going to go ahead and promote their product when they're not going to get anything for it. They're not a lot of these stars probably not worried about so much about trying to get all eyeballs into watching the television and watching the shows. That's what it comes down to. So we just have to realize we're not going to get much more of an audience anyway, but there's still room if you try to find something that will actually pan out, that will get people to watch cable. Sure. There has to be. I mean, if you're able to watch shows that really pull off a pretty good run for themselves, like if you see sports, then it should be able to get quite a bit of a rating, get some ratings out there. So Rick and Morty pulls about 1.6, 1.7 million viewers anyway. And that's what they're getting right now on a show that gets a lot of push and really has a real viral grassroots campaign. But what else is there? I don't know. Just trying to think about it all in my head. This whole kind of open thought here about there's no making of a difference of having Wednesday Night Wars. The idea of having the competition didn't make a difference. We saw a little bit of the degrading of the audience anyway. And then you go ahead and split them apart. That audience will continue to be there. Again, Raw and SmackDown will still rule the day with around 2 million viewers. But this is why it's so important that Raw and SmackDown, especially SmackDown more than anything else, they need to get people back in the mindset of watching wrestling again. They need to give people a reason to watch. And they don't have that right now. But it's not to say that they can't. We know when they bring certain stars back, it gets a bump. When The Rock comes back or Stone Cold comes back or to get Brock Lesnar out there. Some of that stuff will help because when you have some stars that go mainstream, yeah, they bring them back and guess what? They probably pop a rating. You got to ask yourself the question as well. Why as we see Bayley and Sasha Banks out there so much? Because Sasha Banks, part of it is she has a big audience, and so does Bayley. They have a pretty significant following on social media. They just do. And there needs to be more of that. Like, there's got to be some grassroots campaigning through Instagram that kind of pull things up. But again, that's got to be dependent. There has to be some. Here's the thing. As independent contractors for all these wrestling organizations, there should be an incentive, a monetary incentive, to get these stars to become influencers in their own right, build their audiences, do what they got to do to go and build their other products. Like, so if Mandy Rose has, her own clothing line, she's doing supplements, she's doing other things, rock on. We should see more of that. Let them all be able to monetize off of that. But then more importantly, incentivize them to build their audiences, to incorporate where they work into what they're doing, make some extra. Let them be creative about it. Why not? This is where they need to go and grow the audience. Partly is there. But then the other part is that wrestling just needs something to like get the latch onto that becomes like the next big thing or next big things. I don't know what that's going to be. Because if you're looking to kind of get more money, I mean, here's where WWE's in a good spot. Again, they're making a boatload of money. And for them, they just need to be able to keep their broadcast partners happy, their shareholders happy. They have a lot of people to answer to. So they're doing the minimal amount that they need to in order to satisfy and placate so they can actually survive every shareholder's call. But for AEW, it's going to be the same way. They need to get some help. And I'll tell you, for AEW's sake, they should hope that the Wednesday Night Wars go away and that they can go unopposed. I'd like to see NXT move along. Move them over to Tuesday nights. Because for AEW, it's going to be good to see that. And here's the thing most importantly, to wrap this point up. NXT moving to Tuesday nights is the best thing that can happen to wrestling. We need AEW to continue to find its way to grow. Unopposed, they're going to get the chance to do that. And NXT kind of holding that opportunity down for a while, that could be the one thing that Vince and WWE could say that they accomplished. They stunted the growth of Dynamite somewhat. But having them unopposed after a year, could help. So I think for them, NXT should move over to Tuesday nights. Let it happen. Let it happen October 1st. Let's just start a brand new broadcast season fresh. Get NXT moved over to Tuesdays. You want to put Miz or Mrs. over there or whatever else you want, Cannonball, rock on. But move it over there. And let both of these shows frolic and thrive standalone. And then move Impact Wrestling to Thursday nights, which works better for me. I actually kind of like the idea of they moving to Thursday nights. I think it's a better night for them. Back to where they originally were, Thursday Night Impact. That's more the home I hope they get back to. And I hope they do that if that's the case. I wouldn't doubt they will do that once that happens. Doesn't make sense for them to go opposed to NXT, even though NXT is stepping on Impact Wrestling's night. Let's shuffle it up and let everybody divide and conquer. That's what I think things should be more than ever. That's where I like to see things go. Okay, let's get into AEW All Out. Coming up this Saturday, I will do a post show for that coming up here on the network, right here at King of Podcast, here at WrestlingIsReal.com. Excuse me. God, I keep saying King of Podcasts. But yeah, please go to KingofPodcasts.com because that's where I got all my stuff right there. But again, Wrestling is Real. That's where you find the show. You can subscribe. Find all the ways to go subscribe to the show. Follow yours truly. Remember, please make sure to rate and review at Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. Please leave ratings and reviews over there. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you for all of that. I really tell you, and most importantly, I don't talk about this enough. Everybody likes contactless delivery, and everybody's loving trying to get things brought to their house without having to go through the trouble of wearing a mask and going out with a crowd, and maybe you have to sit out in the heat, waiting in line to get into a store because of social distancing. It's a bother. I know for me, it could be a bother. So I would recommend all of you, my listeners, if you're in the USA, you know how easy it is for me to think about, like even today, I was sitting in the pool, just chilling, and I was thinking, man, I sprayed on some suntan lotion. It was a hot day in September here in South Florida. I'm saying to myself, man, I'm about to run out. And I almost thought about saying I got to go to Walgreens or CVS, go buy some. It wouldn't have been a big deal for me to go get it, on the weekend to go grab it. But you know what? $12, found a 12-pack, same price I would have paid for, but the convenience of getting it shipped to the house by the end of the week, perfect. Love it. I don't even have to think about it twice. And I'll tell you, there's so many things that I notice when I go to the grocery store. I spend so much money. I go to the Walmart Supercenter near my house, and there's just some days where I'm dropping down $100. I'm like, man, I'm just buying for myself. I don't have any pets. It's just me. So I thought of the idea of, I wanted to go ahead and get certain products that I don't have to worry about. Because the other thing too, if you're in the pandemic quarantine mode like I have been, and you think about the fact that I haven't gone out that much like I used to. I mean, I used to be out every day, and I go out on the weekends only. So like for me to remember to get something when I go out, like I'm only taking a couple of times and only a few hours to go out to do something. And I'm saying to myself, okay, I don't want to take myself a list of remembering everything I got to get from the supermarket. I just know I want to be able to get my food, my cleaning supplies, things like that for the house, bring it back home. And I was thinking, okay, cleaning supplies cost too much and are not available. So I have to get it from the store anyway. The food I absolutely want to get from the store. I'm not going to do Prime Pantry. But what I will get from Amazon, supplements. Like I get all my vitamins. Like I buy a Live for multivitamin that I need that because I'm I'm in my 40s. I got to make sure I got my vitamins all intact. I buy probiotic, Fortify, 50 million bacteria, whatever IUDs, whatever the measurement is. I buy fish oil instead of buying baby aspirin. But fish oil I buy to help, blood flow and things like that. It's good for me. The omega-3 is good for you. And I also buy vitamin D. And I take a few of those little gel capsules on a regular basis. And I buy Zysol for allergy. Because I can't tell you how many times that thing has saved me from catching a cold. And I don't want to be catching a cold and my immune system compromised from the allergies outside while I'm in the pool or I'm outside, only to get myself anywhere close to COVID. I'm trying to do my best to keep myself in good shape as much as I can. So my thing is I buy all of it on Amazon. And I can buy it in bulk, just like if I was going to BJ's or Costco, whatever. I go through kingofamazon.com. That is my link, my special entrance to Amazon where I buy all my stuff. So I'll tell you to do, if you're not an Amazon guy like I am, listen, I got an Amazon tablet. I got Amazon Fire 10 HD. I got an Amazon Tap, which I talk to Alexa on a regular basis. And I have my Amazon Fire Stick. And I got Amazon Prime. And I love it all. It's good stuff. Listen, from everything I've done, my Amazon Tap I bought with Amazon rewards that I had with a credit card until my bank decided to close me out. I had rewards points that I used to buy the Amazon Tap, no charge. It was rewards points. I did it with Amazon Prime rewards points, done. Amazon Fire Stick, I got it as a discount from Amazon because I was using it on my smart TV, but I had the smart TV that had it embedded, but then they don't update it. Then Amazon was so nice to do me a favor. Hey, we're not gonna update that service on your Vizio TV, your smart TV. So we're gonna go ahead and give you a Fire Stick, and we're only gonna make you pay $14 for it. I'm like, what? Sign me up. So $14 I pay for my Amazon Fire Stick. It's normally $39, and they usually put it on sale. It's great. And to get my Fire tablet, I bought it as a present for my mom. She didn't really use it so much because she wanted to be able to use Google stuff. I was like, all right, fine. But it worked for what it was working for. She used it, and then I went ahead and took it back when I bought and upgraded it to a Samsung Galaxy. I think it's a Galaxy 10 right now. I forget which one it is, but it's one of the higher ends right now. And I bought her that, with more power and more juice and more storage so she can run games and stuff like that. So that works for her. And I got me the Fire, which I already bought as a present. Now I took it back because I inherited it from her because I didn't want to let that go. I wasn't going to throw it away. Again, Amazon's great. I live in it. Okay. I think about it, and I regularly just take myself over to kingofamazon.com, and I'll just go ahead. When I got to buy something, buy it, go. And I get in the mail. Little box, little yellow package shows up at my door. They got great customer service. I don't have to tell you this. You know this. KingofAmazon.com. If all of you were able to go and buy whatever you buy for Amazon through KingofAmazon.com, and the kind of commission I can make for that, I can help put towards the show, better equipment, giveaways. I could do more things with the audience. Again, this is a free show. Okay. I take my time, prepare, sit down here for an hour, rant away for an hour for all of you guys. Maybe put a couple of ads in here in between to try to go and make a couple extra money, a little bit of money off the program because I got somebody that I have to satisfy. And Spreaker, by putting some ads on there because they're supporting me by putting the show on their platform. So I have to run the ads. So if you're wondering why the ads are on there, that's why I'm doing that. But again, I spread them out as best as I can. So you're not, winding them up. And it's like, it's enough for me to handle that I hope all of you will handle. And you won't mind having those kind of just drop in as they come along. I think I got a good system set up for that. Now, besides that, the other thing that would really greatly help out, again, I don't use Patreon. I don't sell you any product or merchandise where it's like you don't really need it. So, like, if you want to support the show, I could put a Wrestling is Real podcast shirt out there, or Kick a podcast shirt. I'm not going to do that. I'm not putting out any Teespring or Cafe Press kind of gear. I'm not doing any of that. I don't need to do that. It's not what you guys are here for. I want to be here. I'm not looking to go and make the most off of this, but I want to be able to go and make back what I put into the show, which is a lot of effort. And I put a lot of podcasts together as a part of the podcast network of King of Podcasts. Again, I've increased my content. I do when I'm not podcasting. You can find that and all of my other content that I do right here on my chair in front of this microphone every week. You can find it at the YouTube channel, youtube.com/JBRASCO951. Please subscribe there, like, and share the videos as well. You can also find the show there. If people don't want to go find a podcast player to go and listen to the show, please go there. You can find it. I also got a special show called When I'm Not Podcasting, where I pull out a great content over there, some water cooler stuff. It's like talking about everything that I'm going to talk about on this show. Because the plan of the Wrestling is Real podcast is to talk about wrestling. I'm not here, beating around the bush, talking about other things off a tangent. Even me talking about Amazon is because I'm promoting. That's it. That's what I do for all of you because I want to make sure I'm doing right by all of you by doing this. Now, AEW, again, They're pulling in their all-out pay-per-view. Let's talk about that. Good matches. I love the card. This is, I'm excited when I've seen the matches for, say, Impact Wrestling, where they put their Revolution show, or the Rebellion show they put out, or Slammiversary. I love the Impact Wrestling cards. But this is a hell of a card they're putting out for All Out. Jesus, man, this is good stuff. So, big, and again, you're talking about matches that have been built over time for a long time. Big Swole, Big Britt Baker. We've been seeing this, Britt Baker at DMD. We've been seeing this play out for weeks on weeks. Now we're going to finally get a tooth and nail match, whatever that's supposed to be, as the pre-show match to buy-in. I think Britt Baker wins over Big Swole. Don't ask me why, but I think Big Swole's gotten the upper hand a few times. I think Britt Baker comes out with a victory here. The Young Bucks will take on Jurassic Express, and that was a result of the four-team tag team match earlier on Dynamite tonight. I think Jurassic Express gets the win over the Young Bucks because we're starting to see a little bit of a culmination of the issues with everything that's going on with the Elite and the breaking up of the Elite. I think that's something we're going to see here that will be... I think that we're going to get something like that. I don't know. I think something like that will come up, and I think we might get a complete implosion of the Elite where Hangman Page and Kenny Omega split off, and then something happens here. Or Hangman Page just gets dropped off here. Something happens. So I think Jurassic Express get the win in that match. Casino Battle Royal, there's a lot of people in this match, and actually they give us a pretty decent preview of what that was going to be tonight. A lot of big names in this. There's not a lot of fluff on this card. Again, you can see the depth of the mid-card in AEW in this Battle Royal. Darby Allin, Lance Archer, Murder Hawk, we've seen a lot of him. We see a couple of the Taz types in Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. Then you have everybody that Eddie Kingston's brought along, which is Butcher, Blade, Fenix, and Pentagon. And there are more we see that are going to be part of this. It's good stuff. At this point, it's, I'm going to say Darby Allin comes out away with a win. I don't see how it won't happen that. But again, I want to see what stories they tell during the Battle Royal anyway. And how they put it together this time around. Broken Rules match, Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. I actually really enjoyed this. Again, this is the one true hardcore feud that we've had. And it's been pretty nasty so far. So they didn't give us a long tables match last week because of time constraints, but I think the Broken Rules match will play itself out here. I think Sammy Guevara wins. Matt Hardy takes a bit of a break. I really think that works. For Sammy Guevara, I think it'll be huge for him to get a win over Matt Hardy. I think they've been building Sammy Guevara very well among the stars that have been here. I think attaching Sammy Guevara to Inner Circles will help a lot. I think Inner Circles of faction has been very strong. I like Santana Ortiz. Of course, I've always liked them as LAX. They're good now. They're very good right now where they're at. And again, that's just because of a testament to the tag team division is very strong. Dark Order versus Natural Nightmares and a 4-on-4 match. So Brodie Lee, Colt Cabana, Stu Grayson, Evil Uno. The Natural Nightmares will include Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall. And they'll be accompanied by Mark Cardona and Scorpio Sky. And I think Dark Order wins that match. And I think Dustin will probably one takes the pin. Something will happen here where we'll see some kind of come-uppins where Cody and Dustin will come back, and then they will probably team together, and we'll probably have another setup with them taking on the Dark Order. That's the fight that Cody has right now. And that's really to help Brodie Lee get over, for the most part. I like the Brodie Lee character. I haven't cared for much of the Dark Order in general, but I think Brodie Lee has been the figurehead has been the most interesting point of the Dark Order since it started. AEW Tag Team titles, I think Omega and Page they're gonna split in this match. And I think FTR, accompanied by Tully Blanchard, I think Tully Blanchard finally having a team he can actually have champions behind him. Oh, Sean Spears is already going to be in the Battle Royal. We saw him come out there as well. Well, I think FTR become the tag team champs here. And again, for FTR, the former Revival, to finally get this break and become tag team champions in AEW, it's going to be significantly more prestigious than it was being Raw Tag Team Champs. I kid you not. And I actually have really enjoyed, and I think the biggest thing about the FTR group right now coming into this play is Tully Blanchard in the mix. I think adding Tully Blanchard was an absolute thing. And the one thing more importantly than anything else, I love the managers. What WWE does not do, AEW does, and that's something I always wanted. I wanted managers to come back. Again, Jake Roberts with Lance Archer, Taz with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, and then seeing, Tully Blanchard out here with FTR and with Shawn Spears. I love it. It's good stuff. I want to see more of that. A match I think is going to be a show stealer on Saturday is that women's title match. That's going to be the best women's match we've ever had. I really think that. I think Nyla Rose and Riho had a great match when they put themselves together. A couple of times they wrestled each other, but I think this Hikaru Shida Thunder Rosa match is going to be fire. I love this match. Thunder Rosa had a pretty good performance against Serena Deeb on Dynamite, and I think Thunder Rosa is just, she's a star, man. I think in a women's division, she would be a great addition. And if she's still able to go and work in NWA, rock on. I love the fact that Billy Corgan signed off. He even, got included into the promotion of Thunder Rosa being brought into the promotion just for this match. I love it. And we see how strong Thunder Rosa is. She's going to give Hikaru Shida a run for the money. I don't know if Thunder Rosa wins, but I think they could have her win. I'm going to pull Thunder Rosa being a dual champion. I think she will claim the AEW Women's title in that match Saturday night at All Out. And then the next two matches are a love. It's just, when I heard Mimosa Mayhem match, Orange Cassidy, Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho has done a phenomenal job working with Orange Cassidy. This match means a lot. This, to me, it's as significant as it's definitely second on the card. Important. It's a fun match. I think they played it out really well. And Orange Cassidy, to the credit, they're building a star out of him. And the main two matches on the card, we are definitely seeing stars being made in front of us. Orange Cassidy is definitely being made a star right here. I love it. He's standing out from the best friends. And Orange Cassidy will become standalone. I don't know where he goes from here, but it's great. I love it. Mimosa Mayhem match. I love the fact of seeing this. I think it's funny. It's just really, really good stuff. And just to see the vats of orange juice and champagne at ringside is going to be great. I want to see how they're going to pull that together. AEW World Title has been booked very good. This is where AEW is not Nitro. We're not getting Hogan and Flair, Hogan and Piper, Hogan and Sting, outsiders. We're not getting like old guys, DDP. Hey, God bless them. They were great matches. I did enjoy quite a few of the heavyweight matches in WCW. But for me, nothing says it like where it's here. This Jon Moxley MJF feud has been very well done. And it wasn't that much time they took to go and build this match up. It was like 6 weeks, 7 weeks ago? And so MJF doing the campaign, doing the election gimmick, Dictator John, this is working. The lawyer thing, all this they did. Again, it's a very classic heel babyface matchup. Jon Moxley, badass babyface. Good. He's been very good as champion. Let me tell you, he underrated as as a championship here. I've enjoyed his championship run more than I did anything else in WWE as Dean Ambrose. I never liked the Dean Ambrose character. I like a lot the Jon Moxley character. It has been a refreshing look to see him take to his roots when he was Jon Moxley before, bring it here, evolved. It's good. And he's also not all hardcore. He is wrestling. He is brawling on the ring. And I'm telling you, man, you got a spitfire, young, hungry, really evil-like heel in Maxwell Jacob Friedman. I can't praise MJF enough. I think he's fantastic. He has done such a damn good job in this character. And I'm telling you, the go-home show, the lead-up to the pay-per-view, the way he went ahead and took the Dynamite Diamond Ring, pounding away at Moxley, pounding him good. I think Moxley wins. I think it's too soon for MJF to win the belt. Again, he's going to win that belt someday. There's not even a question there. It's a matter of, you don't need him to have the belt right now. He does need it at some point. I think the right time for him, it will be something special, and it will be a long run for him, because I'm telling you, he's going to, I mean, it was funny when he even talked about some of the stars that he looked up to as a wrestling fan, and where he didn't bring up, like the Larry Zbyszkos or the Nick Bockwinkel's or the Ric Flairs, like some of the stars that he pointed out that he looked up to, the Buddy Rogers of the world. I mean, it was just like, MJF definitely has, like, he sees his potential. He's doing whatever he can to build that potential. The Wardlow character, having him in that mix, has helped a lot. It's worked. Even the characters in the little election campaigns have been funny. The girl that keeps smiling, and the one dude that just keeps, there's just a couple people that just keep bashing on. And the lawyer's been kind of fun. But again, we don't need to see Mark Sterling out there much more. Fine. Keep him in the background. But I love the Moxley MJF thing. I think this has been a wonderful feud. I think Moxley comes out with a belt after, a real tear-down feud, I think it will be. So that's where I leave things at. I am very excited for All Out. I will be watching this Saturday with bells on, and I will do a post-show Saturday night after the show, and I hope you will find me right here at WrestlingGetsReal.com. We're going to come back for that post-show of AEW All Out. We'll talk all about it, and come back for another Wrestling Is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us. Thank you for listening to the Wrestling Is Real podcast, brought to you by KingofAmazon.com. Follow the King of Podcasts on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and on Facebook at Wrestling Is Real. Subscribe to the Wrestling Is Real podcast through all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also look for episodes on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/JBRASCO951. You can find all this information and more by going to the website, WrestlingIsReal.com.